Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how to play guitar solo number 2 from Van Halen's Take Your Whiskey Home. Now if you missed it, I recently did a video showing you how to play guitar solo number 1. I'll put a link down below for you to check that out. And then finally, before we get started, it's important that you tune your guitar down 1/2 step. So E becomes E flat, A becomes A flat, D becomes D flat, etc. You know the drill. Alright, let's jump on into it.
Alright, so section 1 goes like this. Okay, let me slow that down and then we'll dissect it a little bit. Now the tabs should be pretty easy to follow, but you can see that before I hit that first bend on the 9th fret of the G string, I'm raking across the E, A, and D strings to get there. Then with that bend we're applying a pinch harmonic, bending up, bending down, and then back up. But when you're bending down, you're only going down halfway. Don't go down all the way. Okay, so it should sound like this. After that, we have several more notes with pinch harmonics, and what I want to call out there are the bends. You can see that the 7th fret bends are a 1/4 step. I see people leave that out a lot, and they just play those as straight notes, but if you add those little 1/4 note bends in there, it's really going to give it that right, kind of bluesy feel that's required. And I always try to capture little inflections like that when I do lessons because I want to get it as accurate to the original as possible. And then at the end, after you do that 7th fret D string vibrato, you're going to slide up. So here's that whole section again, slowly. Alright, here's section 2. Okay, now I'm going to play it slowly and then we'll dissect it. Now for those first 4 notes that are palm muted, it's kind of like a rake. You don't want the notes to necessarily ring out. You're going through it pretty quickly. So even if you just rake across the strings without actually fretting those notes, it's probably going to sound okay. Then the next 8 notes slowly go like this. Then when we move to the B string, here's where I've seen this played a couple of different ways. Here's how I play it slowly. Now you can see that the 2nd and 3rd notes into that B string passage, the 8th fret and the 7th fret of the B, I've tabbed those as smaller notes. That's because you're really going through those notes pretty quickly. You don't really want to emphasize them. Now another way to play this is to add more slides into it, like this. I've seen quite a few people do it that way, but when I slow down the original and listen closely, I don't hear those slides in there. Okay, I only hear the slide once, and that's after those 2 quick notes. If you want to play it that way, that's fine. Most people won't know the difference, and it'll sound fine. And then when we move to the G string and we play those last 5 notes like this, notice that you hold on to that 7th fret G string note for just a little bit before you apply the vibrato and then slide up. So here's that whole section slowly once again. Alright, section 3 goes like this. Alright, let me play it slowly and then we'll dissect it. Now you'll notice where I put those little asterisks on the tabs, and I've noted that for those notes, you're not picking them, you're just hammering onto them. Let me play it again, and watch, I'm not picking those notes, I'm just hammering onto them. And I've seen people play this lick quite a few different ways, but usually people leave out some of those 12th fret B string notes. Okay, I've highlighted them on the screen right now. A lot of times people will leave them out, but if you take the original solo and you slow it down, I can hear those notes in there. A lot of times people miss that, but when I slow down the original, I can hear those notes in there. Now, I think what complicates matters with this section and the ones that are about to come after it is that Eddie has his Echoplex, or whatever the echo unit he was using at the time. He's got it pretty loud. So you've got all these repeats going on, and so you really have to listen carefully to pick out the right notes during this section. But this is what I've picked out when I do it. Now there's other ways you can play it. I've seen people go like this. So you can see I'm basically omitting some of those 12th fret B notes, right? I've seen people do that. I've seen people finger tap it, I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do it, but this is the way that I hear it and the way that I play it. Here it is one more time, slowly. All right, section 4 goes like this. Obviously, this is a blues-based lick, and it goes by really quickly. But the tabs are pretty self-explanatory. I want to call a couple things out here. When you hit that 14th fret of the G string note twice, right here, you play those notes a little bit faster than the tempo of the rest of the notes, or the speed of the rest of the notes, okay? Let me play it slowly. And then at the end, you've got a two-step bend on that 15th fret of the E string. So it's like bending from here to here, okay? Section 5 goes like this. Now let me slow that down for you, and then we'll cut it in half and dig in a little deeper. So the first half, that goes like this. Tab should be pretty easy to follow. You've got a rake at the beginning of it again. And then when you get to that 18th fret of the G string bend, again, that's a two-step bend. So going from here to here. Then the second half goes like this. Now the first bend up at the 15th fret of the B string that goes up two steps, that's like going from here to here. And you'll see how I notated it, that when you're at the top of that bend, you're holding it and then hitting the 15th fret of the E string. Okay, so it blends just a little bit. And then finally you have a 15th fret bend on the B string up just one full step and a slide down. So here's that whole section once again, slowly. And then finally we have section 6, which goes like this. Let me slow that down for you, and then we'll dissect it. Now the tabs for this one should be pretty easy to follow, but I want to call out a few things with the bends. The first two bends there, those G string bends that go up and down one full step, you'll notice that I bend down instead of bending up, right? I bend down toward the floor as opposed to bending up. And I just find it's easier when playing this section to do that. But obviously you want to play whatever's most comfortable for you. But with the final bend, I do end up bending upwards, toward my chest or head, right? And in that case, we're going up a full step, down, and then back up 1.5 steps, and then bringing it back down quickly and doing a vibrato before sliding down. So basically, those final bends, it's like going from here to here, then back down, and then back up to here. Okay, so here it is slowly again, the whole section. And I think most of the time people miss that final bend up being 1.5 steps. But if you end up going up just one full step at the final bend, that's fine. Most people probably won't notice.
Alright everybody, that was my video showing you how to play guitar solo number 2 from Van Halen's Take Your Whiskey Home. If you missed the lesson for number 1, I'll put a link down to that one below. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below and I will answer all as time allows. Until next time, rock on.